We negotiated, we arbitrated, we mediated, and we lost on all three fronts. So we waited for everyone to leave, and then we broke back in to the big studio.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Tyler Fulghum, I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Bet. Should you bet the over or the under on 7.5 wins for the boys right down the street, the Las Vegas Raiders? A little NBA play-in pick'em. And we're going to roll out a new segment today called Diamond Dollar.
Diamond Dollar. Does that mean we get dollar bills encrusted with precious jewels?
Oh, you'll just have to wait and see to find out. But no, you will not. I don't even know if such a thing exists. If you're looking for some more NFL coverage as we get set to roll out a lot over the next few weeks and months, leading into inevitably the next 2 months from now, NFL training camp, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. It's Monday. That means it's time for a little reaction or no action. Here is how the game works. A statement is read. If you agree, you react. You disagree, it's no action at all. All set, sir?
Yeah, I think we get it.
The tee box is yours. Albert Pujols recorded 12 RBIs in just 86 at-bats with the Angels before being designated for assignment last week. Reaction or no action, Pujols will record at least 15 RBIs as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Pains me to say this as a Cardinal fan who saw the best years of Pujols' Hall of Fame career. But no action here, Brother Joe. And the issue is that he is now a National League player again. So if he wants to be in the lineup for more than just a pinch hit at bat, he's going to have to start at first base. And you really can't do that with Albert Pujols at this point in his career. Maybe against left-handed starters if there's injury situations that prevent you from putting someone else at first base. And right now the Dodgers are dealing with myriad injuries. But I think this is too much of an ask for someone who's probably going to get 8 at most at-bats a week with the Dodgers down the stretch. I mean, at least in L.A. with the Angels, he could DH if Ohtani was pitching, but now you had Walsh at first base and Ohtani DH, and that's why he's gone from the Angels because of the emergence of those two bats. The only thing that could make me react to this would be the injury situation continuing deep into the summer. I think that will get better for the Dodgers and keep Pujols in a strictly platoon pitch-hit situation.
I will go no action as well with you. Pujols hasn't hit above 250 since 2016. He hasn't recorded an OPS over 800 since 2012. This is the end of the line. That's why the Angels said goodbye. And maybe he'll try to find some sort of renaissance here with the Dodgers, but there won't be the opportunities, like you said, because he's not going to be a designated hitter because National League doesn't have that. But this is a guy who, look, let's face it, 67 hits from being top 10 all-time, 185 RBIs from tying Hank Aaron for first all-time, 33 home runs from 700. If he can get some meaningful at-bats on a regular basis, there's a great team around him. Buck's on the pond, he drags him in, drives him in. But ultimately, we have not seen that. We should have seen it with the Angels.
Right.
We didn't. If they were saying goodbye, considering that contract, I think the Dodgers are taking a shot because the rich get richer, but it doesn't mean anything's going to happen. All right, number 2, reaction or no action. The fourth seed in the Eastern Conference with a record of 41-31, the New York Knicks will lose their 4-5 matchup to the Atlanta Hawks.
No action on that bad boy. I think the New York Knicks are a great matchup against the Atlanta Hawks and a great team with their style to bring into the postseason. Why? We know they win with defense, toughness, and physicality. They want to make you feel their presence on the defensive end of the floor, slow a game down, muck it up, elbow you in the sides when they're jockeying for rebounds, and just be a physical team and make you work for buckets. Atlanta wants to play a breakneck pace. Trae Young tries to do like James Harden and Luka Doncic, play angles, lean his body into you to draw fouls and get to the free throw line. He's a 90 to 95% free throw shooter. It's smart basketball, but I don't think it's as rewarded by the referees as often in the postseason as it is in the regular season. So I think the Knicks will be able to be Knickerbocker tough on Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and the rest of those Atlanta Hawks. So I see their defense carrying them to a victory and moving them to a second-round matchup, likely with the Philadelphia 76ers. That won't be much tougher, but also a great defensive team. So one of the best stories in the NBA this season, no action on the Hawks.
Agreed. No action as well. Although I am a little nervous because this morning we looked at this on DraftKings. It was minus 112 both ways for the series, which is dead down the middle. And then we started to look at other books around town, and the price continues to creep up towards the Hawks. It looks like it's Hawks money that's coming in. But ultimately, how do you want to officiate this? You want to officiate it so Atlanta advances, or you want to officiate it so the Knicks advance? Because last I checked, the New York Knicks just so happen to play in a pretty large market with Madison Square Garden.
You wouldn't be insinuating that the association wants to see New York advance to the second round with their market share versus Atlanta. I don't think that's
I'm not
happening.
insinuating it. I'm just betting it. That's all I'm doing. There's nothing at all wrong with what I'm doing. I'm here in Las Vegas. Defense wins in the playoffs, first in the NBA in points allowed, fourth in defensive rating. I echo all your sentiments. I don't want to see Atlanta advance. And Atlanta's been a nice story this year.
Atlanta's been great.
They've been a fun team.
I was bashing them for letting Lloyd Pierce go and bringing in Nate McMillan. And McMillan has just been absolutely awesome for them. They're a great team. I think the Knicks are better.
All right, reaction or no action. At least two teams in the AFC West, as we transition to the NFL here, will record at least 10 wins in 2021.
I got reaction to that. Chiefs, a given. I'm big on the No, I was just kidding. The Los Angeles Chargers.
That's $1 in the jar if you screw that one up.
Well, I caught myself, so I'll put a quarter in there. Los Angeles Chargers, you got a second year of Justin Herbert. I think you get a massive coaching upgrade going from Anthony Lynn to Brandon Staley, despite the fact that Staley has never coached before. He was never a defensive coordinator before. What do you do with the Rams? His only year there made them the #1 defense in all of the NFL. And he has a Aaron Donald-like talent up front in Joey Bosa and a Jalen Ramsey-like talent on the back end in Derwin James. And oh, by the way, if Aaron Rodgers ends up in Denver, there's another team that for sure will win 10 games this season.
All right, I'm going to be no action on this one, so a little disagreement between us. No guarantee Kansas City gets it done. We know what happens to the Super Bowl loser the following year, but you don't necessarily have to believe in curses. The Patriots have shown year after year that when Tom Brady was there, they could compete even after coming off a loss. So I'll give you Kansas City. But who else do you want? Denver doesn't have Aaron Rodgers yet.
Right.
All right? The Chargers, under new head coach Brandon Staley, could be very good. But that's the ultimate see it to believe it. I would rather be late to that party than early because the Chargers have been burning me for 2 decades, going back when I was a season ticket holder there in 2005.
Wow.
And then when it comes to Las Vegas, how are you going to win 10 games? Again, not saying it can't happen, but the offensive line seems to be an issue. The defense has been an issue, and the Raiders have really struggled to win games in the second half of the season the last few years, especially under John Gruden. They can start strong, but they haven't been able to close strong. So again, see it to believe it.
There's one team I know is not going to win 10 games in that division. It is the Las Vegas Raiders. The other 3 have a chance. The Denver Broncos only if they get Rodgers.
All right, let's bring in some help on the topic at hand. Paul Gutierrez covers the Raiders for ESPN. He joins us now here on Bet. Paul, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much. The Raiders opened with a season win total of 8 before they went into the draft in the opening round and made the selection of Alabama offensive lineman Alex Leatherwood. The team's win total is now 7.5. I'm not so sure the Leatherwood pick is what dropped them by half a win, but it's something worth mentioning. What was the rationale behind this draft pick, which some think was a bit of a reach?
Yeah, it's interesting, guys. Thanks for having me on. But when you're talking about the Leatherwood pick, it really reminds me a lot of when the Raiders chose Darius Hayward-Bay, the receiver, in 2009 with their first pick. Basically, he was their guy. They zeroed in on him. As Mike Mayock told us during the draft, he actually was their top-rated player at any position when it came time for them to pick. So it was in their mind and in the Raiders' world, it was a choice of not only the best player available, but addressing a real and specific need coming together at one point. So they turn their nose up at all the draft nicks and the people that look at things and wonder about draft value, and they got their guy. Now, we'll find out down the road whether or not it's a good pick or not, but he was definitely their guy. They chose him because they thought that somebody behind them was going to try and trade up and get him too. So they did have a trade offer. A team called them up for the offer, and they didn't like the offer that they got, but then they also thought that team was going to trade up to try to take Leatherwood too. So again, at the end of the day, they got their guy, and they still got the safety that they needed in the second round too. So a lot of fans that were ready to jump off the top of the stratosphere, they felt a lot better after that second round pick of Morey.
Yeah, Paul, those fans have usually felt good through the first couple of months of the season. It's the latter months of the season that have hurt them as Raider fans over the last few years. Let's take a look at their first 6 games of the season, and I wonder if you think they can start as quickly in 2021 as they have in years past. A very difficult Week 1 assignment against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. Then you go to Pittsburgh, a Dolphins team that won 10 games a year ago. That Chargers team we were just talking about could be better. The Bears, who knows if Justin Fields is quarterbacking by that point. And then the Denver Broncos. Will Aaron Rodgers be their QB at that point? A lot of variables. But right now, Paul, how do you see them getting through this first 6-game stretch?
Yeah, those first two games are really going to tell the tale, I think, because not only do you get to open it home on Monday Night Football, which is going to have all the pomp and circumstance and the pageantry of having 65,000 fans in there, what Mark Davis has told me is going to be inaugural season 2.0, but it's a tough matchup because you don't know what the Raider defense is going to look like and what kind of a challenge Lamar Jackson is going to be for a rebuilt defense. Then you figure that after that, you have a short week. You got to go cross country against another physical team in the Steelers. Now, when they used to play in Oakland, the Raiders owned Ben Roethlisberger in Oakland. Out in Pittsburgh, it's been a little different story. So those first two games are really going to kind of tell how this team is going to go, where the defense is. And, oh, yeah, that rebuilt offensive line as well with Leatherwood at right tackle. It's really, it's tough to say exactly where they're going to go, but I could see them being anywhere from 3-3 to 4-2 to 2-4. After those first 6 games. Again, in my opinion, it all depends upon those first two.
It wouldn't be Las Vegas without the announcement of a new nightclub opening. This one, however, is in the Raider end zone at Allegiant Stadium, the Wynn Field Club. Tell me, Paul, how quickly after you found out about this did you reach out to the bosses at ESPN and ask them to be able to report from there on game day?
Yeah, I think part of my pitch was, when I was in college at UNLV, I used to hang out at the Shark Club, and I might have hung out with Gerardo, Mr. Rico Suave himself one night at the Shark Club. I can't confirm or deny that, but if they want me to do some reports from there, I'll do it. And I got to go to my notes here for this because it's pretty amazing, this club. It's almost 11,000 square feet from one side of the end zone to the other. Bottle service, 42 TVs, a 9x35-foot LED screen, 2 DJ booths, and a 45,000 watt sound system in there as well. So you wonder how many people are going to be able to get in there and watch the game. I've had a lot of fans ask me, well, how much does it cost to get in there? How do we get in there? Basically, the thought process is if you got to ask, you can't afford it. So just sit back and wait until Wynn announces how to get in the club.
Oh, sorry, Paul. I was just daydreaming about being in the end zone there during Week 12. But you and we could have had some fun back in the day if I was at UNLV as well, it sounds like. We'll wrap up with this, Paul. In Vegas, the market says the win total, as Joe alluded to earlier, for the season, 7.5. Ultimately, we kind of went through that first 6-game stretch. After all 17 are played, Raiders going over or under 7.5 wins this season.
You know what? With an extra game on the schedule this year and the fact that since John Gruden's gotten back, they've improved from 4 wins to 7 wins to 8, I'm going to go ahead and take the over simply because they seem to be on that trajectory, right? And you can't really go wrong there. 8-9 is not necessarily, it's a losing season, but the over there sounds pretty good. I think once they get through that early rush of the season, and it's kind of a tough stretch at the end there too, where 4 of their last 6 games are against playoff teams from a year ago, plus 2 divisional foes. The beginning and the end, they really got to make their money there in the middle of the season.
Paul Gutierrez covers the Raiders for ESPN. Thank you so much for your time, Paul. We appreciate it.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Let me tell you something. When it comes to that end zone, in Green Bay, everyone wants you jumping into the stands.
Right.
With what people are paying there, if anyone tries to jump up, everyone's going to be shoving them back. You're going to break our bottles. What are you doing?
Knock over my magnum of goose.
Right. What are you thinking? All right. It's time for the debut of a new segment here called Diamond Dollars. Here's what we're going to be doing pretty much every Monday throughout the course of baseball season. Each of us will be starting with a bankroll of $100. The goal is simple. You can bet as many games as you want, any way you want, and with any amount you want that Monday. We're going to keep a running total. We're going to go against each other, and we're going to go exactly 139 days from today, which is the final day of the Major League Baseball regular season, October 3rd, 2021. One catch. You go bust, you're out of the game. So if you want to put it all on one game tonight and you lose, well, please don't, because then the bid falls apart.
The segment's kind of screwed from there on out.
Kind of screwed. So let's please try to have some restraint. I know that can be difficult.
But what if I have a stone cold lock?
Right. As Doug Kazarian would say, locks belong on doors. All right. The floor is yours.
Okay.
What are you thinking for tonight? You could have 1 game, 3 games, 5. What do you think?
I'm just going to start slow. Let's just see if we can get into a little bit of a mojo here, a groove. There is one trend over the last couple of years, Doug Kazarian, Joe Fortenbaugh, that's been almost a lock. And that's the Chicago White Sox wrecking left-handed pitching. So tonight I will play them on the run line. They got to win by 2 runs at the Twins, but I get for my $10 investment you see there, $24.50 back. So I like that return on value, especially given that trend. The White Sox 22-2 versus left-handed pitching the last 2 seasons. including 8-2 this season. They're going against Jay Happ, Minnesota lefty. Happ's last start was May 12th against the Chicago White Sox team. 3 innings, 9 hits, 9 earned runs. The White Sox have a team OPS of 853 against left-handed pitching this season. For context, Tim Anderson's OPS this season is 856. Jose Abreu's is 852. You basically get an entire lineup, 1 through 9, of Abreu and Anderson against Happ, a guy who gives up almost 2 homers per 9 innings to right-handed bats. I'm going to keep riding this trend. Don't let me down, White Sox sluggers.
This is going to get awkward, which is how it normally is when it's you and I going head-to-head on anything. I've got 2 games for tonight. I'm going to come out relatively slow as well. No major wagers. Somewhere around 10 to 15% of the bankroll, which is actually quite high. Yeah. But bet number 1 is going right against you. I'm taking the Minnesota Twins minus 111. Now, you make a compelling case. I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong. Okay. But in that game last week when Jay Happ got lit up, Dallas Keuchel was pitching for the White Sox. He got lit up as well. He's pitching tonight. The Twins hit left-handed pitching almost as well as the White Sox hit left-handed pitching. White Sox 8-20 in their last 28 games at Minnesota. I'm curious because you make a great point, and everyone's been telling me this all day. The White Sox crush lefty pitching. The White Sox crush lefty pitching. Why is this line moving towards Minnesota? It started as 105. It went up to 108. Now it's at minus 11. If everyone loves it, why is it going the other way? Just something to consider. Roulette bet, might as well get that involved as well. It can't gamble enough on some of these
Don't know
things.
if he was in that game last week, but Byron Buxton out as well for Minnesota, and he's the one guy outside of Nelly Cruz that scares me big time in that Minnesota lineup.
Bet number 2, I'm taking the Atlanta Braves minus 157 over the New York Mets. The Mets are all types of banged up, and when it comes to the Braves, Max Fried's on the mound tonight. Very, very dicey start at the beginning of the season through his first 3 starts. Went on the injured list, came back, has been nails ever since. The Mets don't hit anyone well. Taijuan Walker's going for the Mets tonight. He's been fantastic. Remember something, the Braves have smashed right-handed pitching, and Acuna is in the lineup tonight. So it's going to be risking 1570 for 2570 coming back on that one. Good luck to you, sir.
Good. Well,
first little
I don't know if you really mean that, given our bets being diametrically opposed to one another.
I don't.
And you certainly didn't mean good luck every time you wished it during the NBA regular season when we played daily Fortenbaugh and Fulghum Sports. FF.
You're there.
Yeah, daily Fortenbaugh and Fulghum Sports.
Well, we went back and forth. It could be daily Fulghum Fortenbaugh Showdown or daily
Showdown.
Fortenbaugh
That's
Fulghum
what the S
Showdown.
stood for.
We only played it for 14 weeks. You can't be expected to know the name of the segment at this point in time. Paying it off
Daily
last week, I had a 1-game lead last week. This is where every Wednesday we kind of go head-to-head with an NBA DFS lineup. If Tyler was able to win last week, he was going to tie it. We're going to go overtime in the playoffs. Came up just short. We have come to a conclusion. Gary Trent Jr., that's not really sure what happened there.
2 weeks in a row that you took a goose egg and still won. Stanley Johnson was it.
Oh, my God.
I had so much Toronto Raptors exposure, and I missed the guy who had 65.5 points.
Adebayo was nice, and for those who remember, this was the night where Toronto made it clear everyone was out. So you and I locked and loaded with everyone else, including Gary Trent Jr., who
didn't end up playing.
Didn't even play. I remember seeing a tweet at one night, hey, they're doing this without Gary Trent Jr. Why are they doing this without Gary Trent Jr.? Gary Trent Jr.
I'm a thorough embarrassment to my family and my friends. I lost 2 consecutive weeks where you took a 0 in your lineup. So congratulations to you, my friend.
It's quite all right. It was 8-6. It was a great showdown. Hopefully we can get something going through baseball. We'll definitely have it for football season. The showdown will continue. Now it's time to prop you up a little bit because you had a big week. NBA play-in pick'em. Here we go. Some NBA picks for you. We're going to give you both of the Tuesday play-in games right now. We'll talk a little bit about Wednesday, but we're going to give you those picks on Wednesday's show. Hot week last week. I was down. You were 3-1 the first day. Little behind-the-scenes look. I was supposed to look up what you did during Thursday's show. Forgot to do it, so I don't remember. I apologize.
Well, I'll have to go back and look while you set this up
good.
What my selections were that day. Let me just open up the
Sabonis was in there, I know, with a points plus rebounds plus assist prop.
He didn't make it. That was the one game against the Milwaukee Bucks where they scored like 290-something combined points. Sabonis only played 26 minutes. Was on pace if he had his normal minute load, but came up short. I'll look at the other ones while you set this up.
Well, we'll start with this. NBA play-in, pick'em. Game number 1, the Pacers are laying 3. The total's 228, and it's been creeping down, hosting the Charlotte Hornets. What do you like in this one?
I do like the Pacers. At first, I thought I was going to like the Hornets because the Pacers have been a team that I just haven't been able to get right. But I kind of found out what I wanted to do with this game. about an hour and a half ago. The Pacers, I'm going to lay it here. Domantas Sabonis, my guy who I missed that points, assists, rebounds prop on, over the last 9 games. Okay, so the month of May, basically. He was out for the last couple of weeks of April. He came back May 1st. And since May 1st, the Pacers have played 10 games. They are 7-3 ATS. Sabonis has played 9 of those games. In those 9 games, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 10.7 assists. He was basically Russell Westbrook light during the month of May. Karis LeVert will be back. He's not on the injury report. Malcolm Brogdon might try to play. And Charlotte was 3-7 straight up in the month of May and lost each of their last 5 contests. I'll lay it with the Pacers.
All right, I am going to be playing the under in this matchup. It's been creeping down, as we said. It's down to 228 now. Everybody assumes the over when it comes to the Pacers based on how they played late in the season. Tyler was all over a ton of those overs. But now's the time to move in the other direction. It's playoff time, which means the defense is going to be ratcheted up on both ends. When you look at the Pacers, 4th in pace, 25th in points allowed over the last few games, a bit inflated is the line in my opinion. Charlotte is a nice balancing act to this equation. 18th in pace, 16th in defensive rating, 23rd in offensive rating. They're not an elite scoring unit. They're an average defensive unit, and they're not playing at a breakneck pace up and down the court. 228 feels high, but it still has been bet down from like 231 or whatever it was this morning. So I'm going to go with the under in this game. Now, let's talk props.
I've done some accounting, by the way, because
Yes.
I need to feel good about myself after daily Fortenbaugh and Fulghum showdown. I did go 3-1 on Thursday.
So 6-2 for the week.
6-2 for the week. The only thing we missed was the Sabonis. What hit? Clippers, Hornets under. Heat laying only -2.5 against the Sixers. They won that big time. And Dame Lillard going over 27.5 points. He had 41, I believe.
Happy to report the show went 9-7 then. And we work as a team on these, so 9-7. We both get the credit. All right, prop bet for Pacers Hornets. Where are you going to go?
Go back to Domantas Sabonis over whatever his points, assists, and rebound total is. Unless it's over 45. If it's over 45, I'll think about the other side or stay away from it. But it was around 42 near the end of the season for points, assists, and rebounds. And again, in the month of May, when he came back, the guy was playing 38 minutes a night, averaging 23 points, 14 rebounds, and almost 11 assists. That's 48 points, assists, and rebounds. LeVert will soak up some of that usage, but I don't think all of it. There's still room against a Charlotte team that struggles mightily against centers. They're actually the team that allowed the most fantasy points per game to centers this season.
Nicely done. Nicely done indeed. I'm going to play LaMelo Ball over 16.5 points. Little juicy at -125, but Ball's been shooting more often post-injury than he did before. 12.8 shots per game, now up to 14.6 shots per game. This is what Big Baller Brand is all about, right? We're in the playoffs now, Big Baller Brand.
Shots up,
Time
baby.
to get your shots up. Indiana's 25th in points allowed. We talked about all this earlier, so a little bit of a hedge here for me.
Okay.
Playing the under, but if this turns out to be a breakneck pace like some of these Pacers games have been, I like the frequency with which the teams would be moving up and down the court. Ball hopefully gets more opportunities to put the ball in the bucket. But even if it played at a slower pace, I still like him to get over 16.5. He's been very good as of late. All right, let's move along to game number 2. The Boston Celtics are laying 2, total of 232.5. Before we get to the props, side or total, what are you thinking?
I definitely love a specific side, but I think we're in agreement. I'll let you take it. So I'm going to attack the total here because this is the highest total of any of the playoff play-in games at 232.5. I think it opened at 234.5, so it has been coming down. I am eager to bet unders early in the postseason in hopes that the market hasn't corrected from the regular season. We saw points galore during the regular season. I think that's going to change a little bit in the postseason. Fans will be back in the stands. More fans will be back in the stands. And usually pace slows down in the postseason. Possessions are more measured. Players play more minutes. So there's some tired legs in the second half and in the fourth quarter. And refs will swallow their whistle because they don't want to be the star of the show. They want the players to kind of figure this thing out, settle it on the floor. So a Wizards team that played much better defense down the stretch, that's why they won so many games, and a Celtics offense without Jaylen Brown, I'll go under 232.5 in this play-in matchup.
I like it. I like it. I'm playing the Wizards here. I think if this were the only season of basketball that had ever existed in the history of planet Earth, the Celtics would not be favored in this spot. I think it's Brad Stevens. It's the Celtics. There's a little bit of this mystique.
Yep.
Why? They have been awful as of late. They've lost 9 of 12 coming into the playoffs. And they're not losing to great teams. They've lost to Chicago, Oklahoma City,
Yikes.
Charlotte, and Cleveland. The Jaylen Brown injury that was terrible for them. I think it sucked the life right out of that locker room. These guys down the stretch have been awful. And meanwhile, Washington's been very, very good. 17-6 straight up, 17-5-1 against the spread over their final 24.
I'll sprinkle something in between a little and a lot on the money line for the Wizards just because of the return on value as a 2-point dog. I think they win that bad boy outright.
What are you thinking prop-wise? Russell Westbrook triple-double, perhaps?
I think it's easier to isolate Kemba Walker, the other point guard. Right. Why? Jaylen Brown is out, so more usage, more shots, a lot more usage and shot is coming to Kemba as kind of the Robin to Jason Tatum offensively. I'm going to play over 24.5 points for Kemba Walker. With Jaylen Brown off the floor this season, he averages almost 5 points more per 36 minutes. And he's likely going to play 35, 36 minutes in this matchup. Russell Westbrook, as great as he is offensively, does not scare me as a micro matchup defensively. Kemba should get his buckets, and the Celtics will need it to pick up the slack for Jaylen Brown.
All right, I'll get some Russell Westbrook action in here, but not the stuff you think about. The double-doubles, the triple-doubles, the points, rebounds, and assists. Who needs it? Nobody cares about those stats. Those are glory stats. I'm playing for the steals. Over 1.5 for Russell Westbrook, all right? 1.5, price is minus 115. A couple things to consider. For his career in the regular season, 1.7 assists per game. For his career in the playoffs, 1.8 assists per game. This is a matchup where Boston ranked 16th in turnovers this season. They have not been very good with the ball. They dropped 9 of 12, during which time they've been extraordinarily sloppy. Washington is a very fast-paced team, high total in this game, lots of possessions. It may not be a 250-point game, but the more possessions, the more opportunity for turnovers, the more opportunity for steals. Remember, minutes are going to be up too for the Stars. Right. Russ is playing 36 minutes a game in the regular season. Now it's the playoffs. If they need him to go 40, he's going 40. More opportunities there as well. All right. So those are the play-in picks we're going to be making on Monday. Let's discuss the games that will be played on Wednesday. We will officially pick these games on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, when we're back here live with Bet. I'm pretty sure they'll kick us out of this studio by that point. We'll still make it rain, as we know how. The Lakers and the Warriors is the marquee matchup of the play-in. When this was designed, this whole concept came up, no one thought you were going to get LeBron versus Steph Curry, but here you are. 4.5, total of 219.5. Broad thoughts right out of the gate.
Yeah, we thought we might get Lakers-Warriors, but like a 2-7 matchup or a 1-8 matchup in the first round. The Lakers are such a bad matchup for the Warriors. As great as Steph Curry has been this season, he struggles mightily against Frank Vogel and this Lakers defense. They have bodies they can throw at him on the perimeter. Caruso, Schroeder, THT, Talen Horton-Tucker, KCP. This is a guy who averages 32 points per game during the regular season. This year in 3 matchups against the Lakers, 23 points per game, shooting under 45% from the field and under 40% from downtown. For mere mortals, that's okay. For Steph Curry, that is bad because he needs to average 35 to 40 points to beat this Lakers team. I think there's tremendous value on the Lakers and LeBron right now. I think there's a little bit of possum being played by LeBron with his ankle.
Steph's the MVP. Steph should get the award. I don't know why we're not. Okay, LeBron.
And then they go out and beat the MVP by 15 points in a play-in game, and LeBron can tweet, I beat the league's MVP, and I'm going to knock off the Suns. It's all part of the master plan for LeBron. I just don't like the matchup for the Warriors. I think they are playing great basketball. I think if it was a different matchup, I'd like them. The Lakers have just the perfect personnel and scheme for what they do. And then who's going to stop Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, Marc Gasol from dominating the glass? As great as Draymond Green is defensively, he doesn't have the length to compete with Anthony Davis. And then Kevon Looney doesn't have the foot speed to compete with Anthony Davis. It's a bad matchup all the way around.
What do you make of the 3 games they played against each other during the regular season? How much weight do you put on something like that? Some people will look at it and they'll say to themselves, all right, the Lakers kind of dominated. The only game they lost was the first one, in which they were up by 17 in the third. They completely took their foot off the gas and mailed it in, and the Warriors came back to beat them. Then the Lakers shellacked the Warriors the 2 games after that. They beat them by 26, and they beat them by 31. You put a lot of weight on that?
I do. I do put a lot of weight on it because I think those are going to be indicative of how this series is played out when we do see that on Wednesday night on ESPN.
All right. You want to talk a little Memphis, San Antonio as well? Not exactly
a most of it for Wednesday, but bottom line is Grizzlies are the more talented team, playing better, although it's hard to bet against Greg Popovich, as great as Taylor Jenkins has been, and DeMar DeRozan is the most experienced player on the floor. I don't know how I'm going to handle that game yet because there's so many things pulling me in different directions.
Grizzlies laying 3.5, total of 222. The Spurs have no business being here. They lost 10 of 12 and made the playoffs. How do you fall apart at the end of the season like that, losing 10 of 12, losing those 10 games by an average of 13 points per game, and you still get rewarded with a playoff spot? But I don't want to lay points
I
to the
want to
Grizz.
back Popovich, especially with points in my pocket, but it's hard to do given that trend they showed.
All right. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Thanks for checking us out today. We will be back on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, all ESPN digital channels.